Welcome to Reverse Mortgage Radio, hosted by Legend's very own reverse mortgage professor, Bruce Simmons. You have so many options with a reverse mortgage, everyone has a different opinion, and the government keeps changing the rules. You need to hear from the first certified reverse mortgage professional in Colorado to specialize exclusively in reverse mortgages, one of few in the state with the letters CRMP after his name. Bruce has the specific training and education you need to understand what you're buying. Now, here's your host, Bruce Simmons.
Welcome to Reverse Mortgage Radio, the show where we replace fear with facts, bust the myths, and empower homeowners 62 and older to make smart, confident choices about their financial future. I'm your host, Bruce Simmons. I'm a reverse mortgage specialist with over 20 years of experience helping seniors unlock the power of their home equity. Whether you're a homeowner, a trusted advisor, or a concerned family member, you're in the right place. Each week, I dive into real stories, expert advice, and practical strategies to help you understand how today's reverse mortgages really work and how they can enhance retirement, preserve wealth, and bring peace of mind. So let's get started. It's time to turn confusion into clarity and hesitation into confidence. This is Reverse Mortgage Radio. Today, we're going to be talking about fear. I know, fear, F-E-A-R. There's a lot of acronyms for fear. The one I like to use relating to reverse mortgages is facts eliminated, assumptions repeated, and repeated, and repeated, and repeated. Because they just get repeated and rehashed over and over and over and over again too. It's amazing how many times. Have you or someone you love ever dismissed reverse mortgages because of something you heard without checking if it was true? So many people will tell me, well, I heard that reverse mortgages are bad. And I like to respond with, how so? Or where did you hear that? What evidence is there of it? What's bad about it? And 99 times out of 100, they can't name one thing that's bad. They'll name false evidence, again, like the bank's going to take your home, or that you're going to lose all the equity. You're not going to have anything to leave your family. All these things that just are not true. And to give you an example, I remember back when I first started before I started in reverse mortgages in 2002, I had a customer I did a loan for probably 6 months to a year earlier. He was an older gentleman. He called me and he asked me, he said, "What do you know about reverse mortgages?" At that time, I knew nothing, but I'd heard they were bad. I don't know how, but I did. They were just bad. And I knew that. And I told him, I said, you better watch out. You better get an attorney to help you out because I think the bank's going to take your home, or you have to give the title of the house to the bank. All these stupid things that I look back on how dumb they were. In January of 2003, when I first started learning about reverse mortgages, I called the guy up and I asked him, I said, "Hey, did you end up doing that reverse mortgage?" And he says, yes, he did. So he didn't listen to me. Thank goodness. And it's just, there's so many stupid things that people say because they just don't understand it. I shouldn't say stupid, ignorant things that people say because they don't understand it and they just have heard. It's like out in the ether somewhere, they heard that reverse mortgages are bad. And usually it's from false news headlines, things like we'll talk about those in a few minutes. But there's a lot of negativity surrounding reverse mortgages. Again, remember, facts eliminated. That's the first two letters of fear. Facts eliminated, assumptions repeated. Okay, that's fear for reverse mortgages. If you want to learn about reverse mortgages, please feel free to call me. My number is 303-467-7821. I can give you the facts. I don't try to pressure you into doing anything. I give you the pros and the cons. I'll tell you the negatives of reverse mortgages. In fact, I've done whole shows on why you should not get a reverse mortgage or what are the downsides of reverse mortgages. But keep it in mind that that a reverse mortgage is just another loan against the home. And you got to learn about it, how it works, in order to make an informed decision about it. That's the key thing, is making an informed decision. But call me at 303-467-7821. 303-467-7821. Again, my name is Bruce Simmons. I'm the reverse mortgage manager with American Liberty Mortgage, and I specialize only in reverse mortgages. I don't know anything else about any other mortgages, just reverse. You can also visit me online at reversemortgageradio.net. reversemortgageradio.net. That's my website. You can download my free consumer guide there. You can also get a free quote on the website as well. But let's talk about that. Some of the sources of misinformation are outdated horror stories about people taking your home and things like that. I'll never forget. And this was like in 2003 or 4. I was working for the Evil Empire at the time, the big bank with a Stagecoach. And a coworker of mine who also was doing reverse mortgages sent me this article. I think it was USA Today. I don't remember who was in it, but I remember the gist of the story. So this is over 20 plus years ago. And the story was that this lady in San Francisco, she took out a quote unquote reverse mortgage, which wasn't really a reverse mortgage. It was a loan against her home that she was charged interest on. And as part of the agreement, she agreed to equity sharing. In other words, I think her home, when she took out the loan, was worth around $150,000 in 1988. Now, President Reagan signed the bill allowing FHA insured loans in 1988. That's when he signed the bill. I think the first FHA insured reverse mortgage wasn't until 1989. So this was not an FHA insured loan. This was a different type of loan, an equity sharing loan. So over the course of about 12 or 13 years, this lady was taking monthly payments, and she had borrowed roughly, I think it was about $65,000 or $70,000 in total. During that same time period, though, her house shot up in value. It went from like $150,000 or $175,000, I think, to like $400,000. Okay, this is California. This is the Bay Area back in 1989, and then eventually in 2002 or 3 when this article came out. I think the article came out in 2003, but the loan came due in 2002. And basically, the heirs found out that they owed something like close to $200,000 or $250,000, even though the lady only borrowed like $70,000. And it was because the lender took a portion of the appreciation on her home. That was part of the contract. But yet it was labeled a reverse mortgage, and this was not a reverse mortgage. That was just that was my kind of eye-opening experience to how basically the media lies about reverse mortgages. They just flat out lie, or they're too lazy to do the homework to learn about it. There are good articles that are written now. There's a lot more now than there used to be. But I was trying to find this article to prepare for this show, and I Googled like San Francisco homeowner reverse mortgage in 2002. Anyways, I came across another article with a headline that said, what was it? It was something to the effect that reverse mortgage leaves 91-year-old Bayview man facing foreclosure. That was the headline. But when you read the article, it said in there that there was fraud committed because he ended up having somebody forge a document to remove somebody from title. And also they said that Bank of America, he deeded the home over to Bank of America, which caused his taxes to be reassessed and gave him a $50,000 tax bill, and he couldn't afford it. And that's why he was getting foreclosed on. Number one, reverse mortgages don't trigger reassessments. We don't ask you to deed the home over to the lender. I think it was a poorly researched and poorly written article. But it was from 2017, and there's been a lot more education since then, too. But it just goes to show the headlines, if it bleeds, it leads. So you got to be aware of things like that. There are true things that did happen with reverse mortgages. And I've said over and over, we took a big shot in the chin from the 2008 crisis because a lot of people, reverse mortgages were chugging along. We're doing, like I think in 2003 or 4, we did 27,000 loans across the entire country. And that shot up to 109,000 loans in 2009. And the big push was from former subprime loan officers. They felt the shifting winds against subprime loans, and they decided to get into the reverse mortgage business because at the time there was no qualifications for reverse mortgages if you were old enough and you had enough equity. That's all there was. And back then we loaned a whole lot more than we do today as far as a percentage of the value goes. And these people were not totally upfront with the loan officers were not totally upfront with the people that they were selling the loans to. And a lot of people didn't really understand it. Even though they did counseling, the counseling that's required was not as good in 2006, 7, 8, 9 as it is today. Now, counseling, part of the changes that FHA made were requirements that the counselors have to go through a class and pass a test on their knowledge of reverse mortgages. Because at the time, a lot of counselors didn't understand reverse mortgages as well as they should have. And they're giving advice to people about it, making sure they understand. The goal of the counseling, the reason we have FHA required counseling, this is an independent third party that's approved by HUD. Okay, this is required to get any reverse mortgage, not just an FHA reverse mortgage, but any reverse mortgage now requires you speak to an independent third party. And their job is to make sure you understand what you're doing and sometimes they question you, is this really in your best interest? If you think you're going to sell the home 2 years from now, a reverse mortgage probably isn't in your best interest. If you have a 3/4 acre lot and you've got a multi-level home with an upstairs and your laundry's in the basement and you have to go up and down stairs a lot, it's not a good idea for you to get a reverse mortgage if you're 80 years old living in that home. You probably would be better off selling the home. Now, they're not going to say you cannot do it. You can do whatever you want. Don't let yourself be talked into a loan, though, that may not be in your best interest. I would much rather tell you no or have you tell me no, that you're not going to do a reverse mortgage at this time, and then to do a reverse mortgage and regret it later. And that's most people who I work with, who I know in the reverse mortgage business, would say exactly the same thing. The people who are part of the National Reverse Mortgage Lenders Association, or people who are certified reverse mortgage professionals, they have the letters CRMP behind their name. Those folks, I network a lot with them around the country. We have monthly meetings of reverse mortgage professionals, and these are good quality people that are not going to talk you into anything. They want to make sure you understand what you're doing. And that's just part of the program. But you need to read beyond the headlines. If you hear something bad about reverse mortgages, do a little digging if you have time. I mean, if you don't, then don't believe it, because odds are if there's a headline that somebody's getting foreclosed because they have a reverse mortgage, there's more to the story. There's possible fraud. That's possible. Maybe their adult sibling took out the loan without their knowledge, or maybe they just couldn't afford to pay their taxes and insurance, and they ended up getting foreclosed on. Maybe they had to move to assisted living, and because they no longer occupy the home, they get foreclosed on if they don't sell it. So there are reasons why there's foreclosures, and people like Dave Ramsey will trumpet from the hilltop about how reverse mortgages are the most foreclosed loan ever. Well, that's the end result of a lot of the time, and not so much anymore. But basically, when somebody passes away or they leave their home and there's no equity left, there's no reason for the heirs to try to sell the home, so they'll let the bank foreclose. They could sign it over to the bank and that goes down as a foreclosure. If there's no equity left in the home and the homeowner is still staying there, they could stay there for another 10 or 20 years. There's no time limit. The loan does not come due unless the homeowner permanently leaves the home or they fail to either pay their property taxes, pay their homeowner's insurance, they don't maintain the home, or they don't keep their name on title, or they leave the home. Those are the 5 reasons why a reverse mortgage comes due. And people just need to understand that. And I'm sorry, I just now realized that I didn't explain what a reverse mortgage is for new listeners. If you've never heard this show before, basically a reverse mortgage is a loan program that was created by an act of Congress in 1987. It was signed into law by President Reagan in 1988. And the benefit for seniors it's a benefit for seniors who've earned that benefit through age and equity accumulation. Think of it kind of like the benefits a veteran gets with a VA loan. This is a benefit provided by the federal government for senior homeowners. However, this is not a loan from the federal government. It's a loan that's insured by the federal government. It's, in a nutshell, a reverse mortgage is a loan that's specifically designed for people that are 62 and over. It allows you to convert a portion of the value of your home into money that you can spend. And as long as you live in the home, like I just mentioned, pay the taxes, pay the insurance, maintain the home, and keep your name on title, no payment is required. You can make payments. You could pay it off anytime with no prepayment penalty. And some people do make payments on it. But it allows you to live there without having to make a payment, which can dramatically improve your standard of living. If you eliminate your principal and interest portion of your mortgage, let's say that's $1,000 a month. That's a huge, huge benefit if your income is only $2,500. You're living on Social Security, and maybe you've got 50 or 100 grand in an IRA or in savings, but you don't want to tap that. If you're drawing money from your Social Security, from your savings or IRA or what have you, to live on, to pay the mortgage or to just supplement your income, you're probably going to run out of that before too long. And it makes more sense to evaluate your situation, look at your finances, and see if a reverse mortgage makes sense for you now. But anyways, that's in a nutshell how it works. You just have to live there and maintain it and pay the taxes and insurance, okay? I also would like to encourage you, if you're a family member or a trusted advisor and you're thinking of somebody in your mind that might benefit from a reverse mortgage, put your assumptions aside and kind of learn the facts with the person you're thinking about. I used to do a lot more family meetings than I have recently, and I'm not sure why, but it seems like I've met with some adult children and their parents sometimes, but I used to do big family gatherings. I remember the family, they had 5 kids, and all 5 kids and spouses show up, and everybody's peppering me with questions, and I like that. I think it's a good idea to get everybody involved, because what happens sometimes, if you're listening to this for you, let's say you're thinking, yeah, this might make sense for my particular situation. We meet, I explain it to you, and then you tell your adult children, I'm thinking about getting a reverse mortgage. The immediate reaction is going to be, no, Mom, don't do it. They're going to take your house. And they just don't understand it. And you could try things, but try to say what you will. But a lot of times they're going to ask you questions. You say, I don't know the answer to that. Or there's an answer to that. I just don't know what it is off the top of my head. And you don't know the program well enough to respond to these questions. Whereas if you and your adult child, or you and your financial advisor or attorney or whoever sit down with a trusted advisor like me or somebody else, anybody that understands how reverse mortgages work, they're going to make sure that they answer all your questions for you. The worst thing is you don't want to basically have somebody that you're trying to explain this to, when they have a preconceived notion in their mind They've heard all the assumptions. They've seen the headlines, how reverse mortgages cause foreclosures and all these things that are not true. And they think that the bank's going to take the house, or they think that the heirs are not going to get anything, that the bank takes the house when you die. Or the worst thing, the worst misconception or assumption about reverse mortgages is it's a last resort only. They say, Mom, you still got $100,000 in the bank. You don't need a reverse mortgage. Wait till you run out of money, then get it. That's one of the worst things you could do, because then you have no other options, and who knows what interest rates are going to be at the time, or what your situation is going to be at that time. It's better to get it in place now, and then you can use that reverse mortgage in conjunction with the other assets that you have to draw those down and expand the life of those other assets along with the value of the home. Okay. So just keep all that in mind. It's important, just because when somebody hears a reverse mortgage for the first time, they automatically assume things. This is a last resort. I remember one time I was talking to a lady about reverse mortgages, and she said, well, let me talk to my attorney. I said, is there any way I could talk to your attorney with you? No, I'm going to talk to my attorney. Well, I don't know if she did or not, but she told me she did. And her attorney recommended against it, is what she said. And then I said, well, okay, if that's the way it is, okay. And then she said, oh, by the way, he asked me to ask you who keeps the house? Whose house, or whose name is the house in after I do a reverse mortgage, if I were to do it? That just shows me that the attorney knew nothing about reverse mortgages. And I believe what goes around comes around, because I was trying to tell that one guy in 2002, before I knew anything about reverse mortgages, that a reverse mortgage is bad and that the bank's going to take your house, and on and on and on. Nothing is further from the truth, the way that the loan program works. So we want to keep all that stuff in mind. The key thing is to, again, if you're a financial advisor, just Google financial planning using a reverse mortgage and financial planning. You're going to hear a name called Wade Pfau. He's a financial advisor, educator. He teaches other financial advisors about financial planning, okay, through the American College of Financial Planning. Do that, and you'll learn a ton of information about it. If you're a real estate agent, you'll learn about how people can use a reverse mortgage to buy a home and how it really improves their life. I just this week, I met with about 18 realtors. I teach classes on reverse mortgages to real estate professionals to try to get them to understand how it works. So when they're listing a home for sale and somebody comes in with an offer from a reverse mortgage, they're going to understand how it works a little bit and not automatically dismiss it. Attorneys, there's so many aspects of elder law, family law, divorce. There's a lot of silver divorce right now. People who've been married for 20, 30, 40 years that are unfortunately getting divorced. They've got this asset of the house. Somebody might want to keep it. The other person wants to leave, or they're both going to leave the house. How can they take the assets from this one house, split it in two, and still be able to buy a house for each one of them? A reverse mortgage for purchase might be able to help them out with that. So there's all these different aspects. If you are somebody who works with seniors or advises people about finances, definitely let them know about reverse mortgages. They're not the devil, okay? And the FHA insured HECM, there's been a ton of changes to that program. If somebody says, well, years ago I looked into reverse mortgages and it wasn't a good idea. Well, there's been a lot of changes. There are a lot of requirements, a lot more requirements that FHA has put in place. Some of them are detrimental, in all honesty, to the person getting an amount because they've reduced the amount of money we allow people to borrow. But in the long run, it's better for people, okay? So there's more oversight with the better counseling. There's more checks and balances on the appraisals to make sure we're getting a competent, fair appraisal. There's been also all kinds of rules like a financial assessment, where now we do qualify people to make sure they can afford to stay in the home. that after they get the reverse mortgage, they can afford to continue to pay the property taxes and the homeowner's insurance and maintain the home. If you don't have enough money to do that, a reverse mortgage is not a good answer for you. It might be temporarily, but it's not going to, eventually, you're not going to be able to pay the taxes, and you're going to get foreclosed on, or you're going to be forced to sell the home. And the headline's going to say, reverse mortgage causes foreclosure on 85-year-old woman or something like that. And it'll be the reverse mortgage's fault. But that's why we now have income requirements. We want to make sure that this is a sustainable solution, that you can live there indefinitely for as long as you want. Okay? Don't replace assumptions with understanding. Remember fear. Facts eliminated, assumptions repeated, okay? Because they do get repeated over and over again, all these assumptions. Anytime I hear assumptions, I always remember The Odd Couple. There was an episode, and this is the TV one, with Jack Klugman and, what's his name? The guy that played Felix. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But Felix was trying to do something, sell tickets or something at a concert. He got accused of scalping tickets, and he took it to court. And the police officer, he says, "How do you know I was trying to sell these tickets?" And the police officer said, "Well, I assumed you were." And I remember Felix wrote on the chalkboard, "Assumption," and he said, and then he circled the words, "You make a Jack, you know what, out of you and me." ASSUME is how you spell assume. And I just always remember that, because reverse mortgages, there's a lot of assumptions. So keep in mind that don't think about the assumptions, think about the facts. Educate. I like educating people through free consultations. Call me with questions. I would be happy to meet with you. I meet with a lot of people that decide not to do a reverse mortgage. I'll meet with people who don't even qualify sometimes, depending on, your interest level. If it looks like you might qualify a year or two down the road, whatever, I'd be happy to meet with you and answer your questions. Have open conversations with your family about reverse mortgages and the advisors that you have as well. You want to make sure that basically, think of it this way. The right financial tools don't create fear. They create freedom. Let's stop repeating the assumptions and start uncovering the facts. And you uncover the facts by talking to somebody who understands how it works, doing your own research online. Look up the National Reverse Mortgage Lenders Association. Go to reversemortgage.org. Go to my website, which is reversemortgageradio.net. You can also download my free consumer guide there. There's all kinds of consumer guides. Go to HUD. Google reverse mortgage HUD, HUD, and you'll get all kinds of information from the government on reverse mortgages. They're not trying to sell you anything, okay? They just want to provide information for you. But please feel free to call me directly with any questions. My name is Bruce Simmons. I'm the reverse mortgage manager at American Liberty Mortgage. My number is 303-513-2748, or visit me online at reversemortgageradio.net. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you have a fantastic day.
Call Bruce Simmons today. Ask about his free Colorado Consumer Guide, 303-467-7821, or reversemortgageradio.net. Bruce will come to you anywhere across the Front Range to make sure you understand how reverse mortgages work. Regulated by DORA, NMLS number 409914. American Liberty Mortgage is an equal housing lender.